This is a Central Alberta TV special news report.
Multi-vehicle collision in Church of Latter-day Saints parking lot. We have 2 vehicles involved, multiple occupants, down power line.
Hello, I'm Charlotte Hogarth, and we're here at an accident scene with Chris. So what's happening here today, Chris?
Well, today we've actually have a 2-vehicle collision. There was 1 fatality involved.
Oh, no.
At this point, we believe the driver of one of the vehicles was impaired.
So with the accident, what exactly happened?
I believe the vehicles collided head-on and actually careened into a telephone pole. The 2 people in the car were impaired while operating the motor vehicle. And it's yet to be determined from our investigation who's at fault, but like I said, it was a head-on collision and it involved 2 vehicles, several injured.
Okay, so a call just went out. We have an independent person that came up, saw the collision, they called it in, and now we were going to wait the emergency response team. Okay, in this case, we have a 2-vehicle collision with a down power line, and the power line is live. Okay, right now you notice we don't have an emergency crew coming straight into the collision scene. Why is that? Why are they not coming right to the vehicles right now? Down power line, that's correct. We have a live line. That was the call that we have a down line. We don't know if it's live or not, so Fortis is on hand, and they are meeting with them right now, and they have to come up with a plan now to eliminate anybody else getting hurt from power. Okay?
Yeah, we're 23 here with this lady for Florida. Don't maintain that line.
Denver, copy.
At this point, Fortis is coming in to check the line, make sure that it's not energized. There's a 10-meter radius for safety when there's a down power line. Anything within 10 meters, you have the potential to be electrocuted or killed or both. What Fortis is doing right now is, from what they tell us, is called a hot stick. Okay, and that's what they use to deactivate any lines, to make sure that there's no power going through them and to deactivate them.
I'll let you know when Fortis has the power line.
In this whole situation, it brings a whole different problems of dynamic for us, because we want to get in there as emergency response teams, but we can't because of the power. So is this happen all the time? No, but it can happen on, when we don't expect it. We don't want nobody to run in and get electrocuted. That's the biggest reason for this. So really, in this case, our original response is Fortis.
It's okay.
and they have to deactivate the line before we do anything.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and I'll get out of your road right here. Yeah, you bet. All units be advised, power lines are de-energized and grounded. We're good to go in and have a look. I'll let EMS know as well.
Okay, the line's clear. Emergency services now can do what they need to do to rescue these people that are in the vehicle.
Russ? The 2 patients in the front vehicle, you're alert. 2 here, not alert. I'll just let EMS know. Copy that, I'll let Okay, roger that. Patients in one car that's in alert.
We have 2 patients
and 2 that aren't at all. So 2 in the truck that aren't.
1 is
2 in the car that aren't. So
1 is.
we're all good to go. Power lines are de-energized and everything. So I'll let you guys do some assessments. Good.
Is there only the one? One vehicle? Airway kit. Sorry.
One tank?
Oxygen.
Take you out on the board, okay?
Okay, we have a girl that's been arrested, the driver of this vehicle. She's been arrested at this time for possible impaired operation of a motor vehicle, causing death, because we do have, right now, we have a deceased person that is at the drivers of this truck. At this point in time, just right now arrested, not charged. We have to go through a process before we can charge somebody. But in this case, this person here ran the stop sign and T-boned this truck, killing an innocent person. Have an injury in the back of this vehicle, which was the passenger of this car, got thrown into the back seat. That was the mother of the deceased person that just came running in here. She found out that her son has been killed in a car accident, because in today's technology, it doesn't take long. A text and it's quick, a phone call. So she's distraught, she's running in.
I'm bleeding.
Come over and take a look at you, okay?
Is she okay?
Why do you think we say that the person's arrested right now, but they haven't officially been charged?
They're innocent until proven guilty.
Exactly. It's the old adage. Good, you watch a lot of TV. Okay, so at this point in time, we can assume, okay, since she was driving, we know we can smell alcohol. There's alcohol outside the vehicle. If you notice, there's a bottle there. We found bottles inside the car. So we're going to assume, that the alcohol's there, the smell of liquor on somebody, that she was intoxicated. Okay, ran a stop sign. Do people run stop signs without drinking? Yes, I can attest they do. But in this case, we will bring that person back and they will do a breath test. If they're injured to a point where they can't blow, then we can get a blood demand. Okay? And then we can actually go with alcohol content in the blood. So if a person says, well, I can't blow, they figure, oh, my jaw's hurt, they can't get me to blow, we can do it other ways as well. Okay, so that's where we're at right now. Now we have some people that are trapped in a vehicle. We have a deceased in the truck. And then now the families are going to be affected for life, especially the deceased. And of course, what's going to happen to the girl that was driving that car? She just killed somebody, and now she's going to have to live that the rest of her life. Albeit not only that, but even jail time.
Probably take the door. Okay, so right now the fire department's going to be using the jaws to cut the roof off the vehicle. We can't get the doors open right now, so their next option is use the jaws of life to get the roof off. Had there not been a live passenger in this pickup truck, and had it been a confirmed deceased, we probably wouldn't be cutting the roof off right now. They'd be paying more attention to the people in the car right now. So that's why you see the tarp on the person, is that's our deceased person. Like I said, they wouldn't be going through the jaws of life for all of that trouble if that was the only passenger in the vehicle. Did you guys find that the person in the car was arrested rather quickly? Yeah. Reason they arrested quite quickly is they'll determine right away if the person is okay to be moved. We have the odor of liquor in the vehicle, and as well as the evidence, there's the bottles of liquor in the vehicle. We'll go to a straight arrest. That means we don't pass go. Person's under arrest immediately. Next thing that will happen once we get them out of the vehicle is we'll have an EMT check and make sure that they're okay to be transported to the police station, where we'll be obtaining breath samples from them. If that person was not okay to be transported, they'd be taken to the hospital and we'd be taking blood. And we'd do the analysis in the blood rather than a breath sample. So here's a quick question for you. If you're able to talk to the police officers and they demand a breath sample from you, are you allowed to refuse? Show of hands if you think you're allowed to refuse. Put your hands up real high. Are you allowed to refuse a breath sample? You guys are correct. You are allowed to refuse a breath sample, but you'll be charged criminally for refusing to provide a breath sample.
Hard to defend a refusal. You get a lawyer, the lawyer's going to say, well, we can vote, no?
Can you guys hear me down there as well? Okay. So what that means is that refusing a breath sample means you'll have to go to court and you'll have to defend yourself to a judge why you would not provide a sample of breath into the machine. How many people think you can win that one? Not usually, no. You're better off to provide that sample. This is pretty common for a collision scene. Quite often we do get people that recognize the vehicle in a collision will stop, try and gain access to the scene. We have to keep those people away. Ultimately, if they keep interfering with the scene that we're investigating, they can be arrested as well. The ladies that showed up, they're wearing the blue coats. Those are our victim services. Anytime we have an incident that involves a victim of any kind, we'll contact them and they'll come down and they'll speak with the victims that are involved. They can provide all kinds of options, all the way from funding, all the way down to just moral support for any losses that might have been incurred. They have access to different grants, things like that through the province.
Okay, so in a situation like this is a very real situation. And I'll give you an example real quick. I actually attended where a vehicle was T-boned on a highway, and it was a family in a car like that of 5 coming back from Edmonton with a newborn baby. And everybody was killed. All 5 people were out of the vehicle and strewn out across the highway, including the newborn. And the driver of the vehicle was drunk. Ran a stop sign, T-boned the car of a family coming back from the hospital because she just gave birth. All 5 were dead. He lived. He went to jail, but 5 people are dead plus a newborn. So this is as real as it gets without it actually being real. This is what it's all about. You'll notice our guys here, they're not doing much. Okay. What we do is we contain the scene. We let the other guys do, they're the professionals as far as extracting people, EMS, to look after people. We make sure we arrest the appropriate people, and then after that, then we just contain the scene to make sure that they can do their job. As is the distraught mother on the deceased came in. We can't allow that, like Constable Milbrand said. It's just a situation that we have to try to control, because if we can't control what's going on within their collision scene, not only do their lives become an issue, but everybody's does. So we have to make sure that we protect them as well. So we stay on the outside. The guys will assist wherever they can and help out to help bring people out of the vehicle and etc. But we have to make sure that we keep the media back. We have to make sure we keep members of the public back, because when we do get a collision, what happens? What's the most thing that people do? They want to see what's going on, right? I mean, we're just natural. That's what people do, right? So we got to make sure that we keep people far enough back so it doesn't become a problem. Question?
Thank you. Are you investigating right now what happened?
Absolutely. So right now, what we're doing is our guys are going to help. They'll contain the scene. In a situation like this, we will have a collision analyst come in, and a collision analyst would come down. They will check, they do all the measurements, they take photos. We have a actual drone that flies overhead, and they operate at remote control and takes aerial photos, and they're able to reconstruct the whole scene to say this is what happened. And they're pretty well right 99.9% of the time. They can actually tell us exactly what happened, how it happened, the speeds that the vehicles are going, because the vehicles do have recorders in them. So we can tell if somebody's wearing a seatbelt, how fast they were going, and so on. So right now, this is an active investigation. So we try to contain any evidence the best that we can, but we have to let EMS and fire do their job first, and then we'll try to contain as much as we can. We won't let anybody else come in. Right now, we do have somebody arrested, okay? But just arrested right now, and then we'll continue to help out. There is a time issue, so we have to get that person down to the detachment to do a breath sample. But in the meantime, this is an active investigation, so we won't let anybody else come in. Any other questions? In the media and the real accident, we never try to keep the media out. But in a situation just outside the scene, it's the same as the public. We keep them on the outside. We try not to get them inside because we have to respect the people's privacy. Okay, in this case, you know, there's first of all, even though she's the drinker and driver and she's arrested, she still has the right to privacy. The family of the deceased has right to privacy, so we try not to let them get any closer than they need to be. Anytime you guys have any questions, just raise your hand. Myself or Constable Milbrand will come over to the mic and you can ask a question, and that's why we're here. If you have any questions for the fire department, by any means, we have a gentleman right here. He's good to go. So if you have anything at all, this is the time we want you guys to ask because they're doing their job. If you're not sure of something, just ask.
Okay, so we want the front. You want to make a certain point? You can get this door open to the
Okay, we had a question with the media again, like we had there. But yeah, the media will definitely, they have scanners, so they know what's going on, so they try to attend because that's their job. So we want to make sure that we keep them at bay and they can take their pictures from outside. And of course, they will come and talk to us later to ask us what happened, but we'll give them just whatever information we can give, again, respecting people's privacy.
Now that the cops have had a chance to talk, you can talk to the cool guys. Any questions?
And we also need one other person.
We usually have most of this done before the cops arrive, but that's okay. We'll give them a little bit of kudos today. Question down at the end?
Do you want to comment if you come across a scene where you've got a hybrid vehicle or one of these new electric vehicles?
Yeah, good question. These new hybrid vehicles or electric vehicles, there's up to 600 volts inside these little things, and there's a whole priority and a list of tactics we use to immobilize those vehicles. If they're involved by fire, it adds a whole different dynamic to an extrication because there's quite a risk of an explosion internally contained, but it does add some problems. You do notice that a lot of these smart cars are very compact, and mechanism of injury and collision will really make things challenging for an extrication inside one of these things, but they are safe. There's airbags, there's collision airbags for them to protect the passengers. Another question? The question was asked, why do we not shut our vehicles off? And the answer is there's onboard electrical units and air-powered units. If we choose, we want to use them. We didn't pull out any cords or hoses at this time because the collision isn't all that challenging. We're going to work at the hydraulics we have. Sorry? Why did they leave it? All the vehicles are left running because you see a lot of lights and equipment need to keep them keep the batteries charged. So you see what we're doing is maintaining cervical spine and keeping this victim as straight as possible until we get him onto the board and completely mobilized. We don't know what kind of injuries he may have, and we're certainly not going to make anything worse for him. So very carefully and delicately we put him onto a board in a controlled fashion. That's the reason why we would pull these roofs off, so we can get access to the patients and try and make life as little as easy as possible for them from this point onward. You'll see that this particular patient, I believe they're going to simulate an intubation, where in other words they paralyze them, put them out, and they breathe for them. I should explain that we paralyze him with drugs. He's not permanently paralyzed that way. So patient is put onto the backboard, given care and control of the EMS, and then fire will regroup and then focus on the extrication and the taking care of the deceased. This time, typically, RCMP will want to take a closer look, and we will not compromise the scene. If the traffic analyst needs to be brought in, that may be a priority, and so we cannot disturb the scene anymore. It is a crime scene, and RCMP have control of that until they say we can finish up. I see a lot of confused faces out here. Any questions here? Or is that how you normally look?
Okay, so now that we got the living people taken care of and the scene's going to be freed up a little bit, next thing we have to do is the RCMP contacts the medical examiner's office. We let them know exactly what's going on as far as the deceased patient goes. The ME has to give us permission to have that body removed. Once the medical examiner says yes, the body can be removed, they'll either request it to come in for an autopsy if it's a suspicious death, or they'll just have it removed to the local funeral home. So as you can see, the van there is the funeral home that's arrived on scene. So once the living bodies are loaded up into the ambulance and off scene, we'll bring them in and we'll remove the deceased.
Afternoon. So at this point, we've pulled out all the patients, extricated, or fires extricated them from the vehicles. And at this point, we'll be doing our assessments and treatment. And depending on the severity, it can get pretty invasive. So what with this patient, we have someone who is in a critical condition. And so at this point, we're going to put him on a line, put him on a board, protect C-spine, so his spinal column here, as well as we're going to, depending on the patient's level of consciousness, we might be putting in an advanced stairway and also accessing, trying to get access his venous system. So if we have to put more fluid into him to replace the blood he's lost, or given medication. Now, depending on if we can get that, normally we would put an IV, which is a long needle that would go right in your arm. But having said that, if we can't get that, then what we will literally do is take a drill and go right into your bone, right into the marrow. And it's about as unpleasant as it sounds.
I didn't take the sticky off. Sorry.
So what my crew is doing right now is that they're checking his vitals, making sure his heart is still working. Got the pads on, just in case, if, for example, he goes into cardiac arrest, we might have to defibrillate.
Yeah, you guys come there.
Which means shock him. So yeah, it's underneath. It's just right underneath there. Yeah. Here.
Hi guys, how are you today? Makes it a little more real, doesn't it? Yeah. Jared's our paramedic, so if we had a case like this, we've tried to get IVs because when you lose blood, you can bleed out and then go into cardiac arrest and die, right? So if we can't get IV lines, then we have to do something called IO, which is what Jared talked about. He's going to show you what that machine looks like. And it drills right into your bone, right? All this stuff would be normally being done in our ambulance. Once we extricated out of the vehicle, we'd be in our ambulance and going to the nearest trauma bay or calling STARS to come fly them. Did you show them that already? The IO, did you do it? Oh, you did it? I didn't even hear it. Did you guys hear that drill? Okay, he's going to re-show it and I'll put the mic near it.
We can probably give him a little bit. Is this oxygen actually flowing?
No. Yep. It was, yeah.
Okay. I just don't want to...
Maybe we ran out.
Maybe. So a gigantic needle goes right here. Now at that point, I can actually administer, again, fluid or medications. And it really is painful.
So if all of you reach right under your knee, and there's a little bump on your leg there, just right under that is where this would go. Did you do this zip?
Sure did.
Okay. So we would be in the ambulance and now transporting to the hospital, right?
Okay.
All right, so now that we got the patients are going to be removed from the scene here, the funeral home is going to do the removal of the bodies. And as you see there, the big black body bag. I don't know if you guys, it's a little difficult in a scene like this to piece everything together because we're not actually in a street or on a highway where we're doing this. But everything here depends on all three partners. So the RCMP or the police, as well as the fire department and then EMS. Everybody here has to work together and we depend on each other on these scenes to make sure everything goes as smoothly as possible.
I'm just jumping in here. This is a part of this that we don't really like. If you have a deceased on scene, the deceased remains on scene until the medical examiner releases the body. If you die there, you belong to the ME. So we have to wait until they tell us that we can do this. I'm going to give you this. I'm going to pass this down. You guys can look at this. If for some reason you end up there from drinking and you drive and you die, that's how you're going to go to the hospital. They've got a nice black one. We've got the white ones. So have a look at it. I don't think it's something you really want to ever see again.
Had a question over here who the medical examiner is. Different areas of the province have different ones. So the medical examiner's office is in Calgary for us. Yeah, the medical examiner doesn't actually come on scene. No. Okay. So yeah, those body bags that you see getting passed around, when we don't have access to a funeral home, and I've worked in some northern parts of the province where we don't have a funeral home, where the nearest funeral home is going to be about 4 or 5 hours to get to us, that RCMP pickup truck right there is what transports you. You get a ride in the box. The ambulance doesn't take deceased bodies.
Let's not forget about our two companies after they're important, as we mentioned that.
So the body is what we call now as bag and tagged, and it'll go off to the funeral home. At this point, we would have our collision analysts come in. The analysts would be taking drag marks, pictures, having the drone fly over the scene, taking pictures, while everybody else departs the scene. A lot of times, collision analysts will spend about 2 or 3 hours on scene. So if you guys are ever stuck on Highway 2 and you're wondering why traffic isn't moving, it's probably because we have an analyst trying to reconstruct the scene before we have the tow company come in and remove the vehicles. It's another common reaction, and it happens more often than you would think. The deceased's mother, of course, wants to go after the arrested person, the person being charged. All right, so now that the scene is clear, next thing we would do is Fortis would come in and that telephone pole, or that power line, would be removed. And our tow company would be contacted and these vehicles would be removed off the road.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Hogarth, and I have Brian here with me, Brian Powell, from a 19-year veteran of the Olds Fire Department here. So how do you think everything went down today, Brian?
Well, I think it went well. Speed has to be demonstrated, as these types of incidents don't happen in a short time span. They have to be shown in real time how they actually take place, and a lot of students mentioned that they were surprised how long it actually took. But we wanted to demonstrate that part of it, that an extrication doesn't happen in the 5-minute time span that you see on a Chicago Fire episode.
No.
They do take a time.
Exactly. So there was two people in the car. Did you have any issues getting them out of the vehicle?
Well, the police arrested the driver immediately, and she was taken out of the car, and then the passenger in the rear was extricated out of the rear door. Some challenges existed with the mechanism. The vehicle was damaged quite heavily.
Okay. And as far as the truck was involved, I see that you actually had to take the cab off of there too?
Yeah, we removed the entire roof of the cab of the truck just to give us better access to the patient. We had a possible cervical spine compromise and wanted an opportunity to get complete immobilization for the patient and extricate him clean and safely.
So when these things happen, I can't imagine, it was pretty traumatic for all the students here. It must take a toll on you as a fireman as well, right? Because you attend all accident scenes.
That's correct. You know, it is challenging. I've unfortunately put my share of teenagers into body bags, and I don't want to put any more in. We're a small rural community. We know a lot of people, and unfortunately we do end up knowing a few people in these accidents as well. So our job is to perform our very best in the presence of somebody having their very worst day. Mm-hmm. And so that's, I think, why the fire service evolves the way it is, and if we can help any way in our community, we do.
Mm-hmm. What I've noticed, Brian, in the probably in the last few months or probably the last year, all the texting that's going on, and you can actually see it happening on the streets. Does that play a huge part in the accident scenes that you go to?
In terms of texting, it improves the technology, and a lot of times victims' family will beat us to the accident scene, and that adds a whole different dimension into our dealing with this. We saw here the victim's mother arrived quite quickly, and that's not uncommon. We do see that. Right? We do see that, and it takes assets out of the equation, and it actually delays the situation. And we're not going to not tell people to contact their families, but when they arrive during the incident, during the extrication, it does add another degree of complexity to the and emotion, and things are already trumped up to begin with. So.
Yeah, exactly. So Lauren, you must attend a lot of these scenes as well.
Yes, where we're located here in Olds, we've got 3 primary highways. We've got Highway 2, or we call it the Deuce, Highway 27, Highway 2A, a lot of secondaries. So we have a lot of traffic on our highways, and unfortunately, we do attend a lot of motor vehicle collisions.
How many would you attend in, like, say, a month, or does it really go that way?
It varies. A lot of times it's the weather. In the winter, we'll get these gusts, especially early in the winter. People aren't really ready for it. We'll have a blizzard blow in, and we get quite a few in one day, and then so it comes and goes. We will do about 100 a year.
Boy, that's a lot of accidents, right? Yeah. I guess all accidents can be prevented. What kinds of things do you see mostly as the fault of an accident? Or is it?
Well, it's actually, I'm glad you asked that question. One of the things that we see is the winter especially, is people, they go out and they're not prepared. What I mean by that is they, first of all, should they even travel? Like, do you really need to get to the quilt sale? Stay home, really let it go. Yeah, exactly. But tires, we go to these accidents and vehicles are on the roof, and you look at the tires that are on them, and they've bought all season tires, but they're not winter tires, and they've ran them the whole year, so they're down, the treads are down, so they really, they don't have the traction and the control, so they loosen up on the highway on them, and they, so maintenance on vehicles is very important. One of the things is, if you're going to be traveling in the winter especially, is just get a little duffel bag, throw some old winter clothes in, a little candle, just put a little winter kit together, because you never know when you're going to get stuck. And we see lots of people, traveling, let's say from Calgary to Red Deer, and they don't understand that this is the rural area, and it may take a while to get to you, so be prepared. I mean, if you're going to be wearing your business suit and the dress that you're going to the wedding in, make sure you got something else you can put on in case you get stuck.
Yeah, exactly. So with this scene today, it was pretty traumatic. How did you feel everything turned out?
I like the way it went. I took the opportunity today to sort of step back and just play the safety role, making sure that we didn't get hurt and that. And I got more time to watch the students and the reactions that they were having to what they were seeing, and I think it really, really does a good thing for the students. Even though it is a simulation, and they know that, they still seem to pick up on how real it could be, and the actors that work in this, I can speak from experience. I've been involved in that, and the actors, when they really get into the role, it's hard for us, because you get people screaming in that, and even though you've seen it before, it still bugs you. And
I can't imagine.
Yeah, no, it was well coordinated. The school did a great job of setting this up. Tow Rock with the cars, the police, EMS, and my firefighters that came out. I have to thank everybody, and the students. But we've been doing this for a few years now, and I enjoy coming out every year and doing this.
Well, we have to thank you for that, and thank you for all your hard work and all the things that you do, because I know your job is not an easy one.
Oh, well, thanks. I'd like to think it is, but it gets a little challenging sometimes. Exactly. But I work with a great group of volunteers, and I can't say enough about them.
Excellent. How did this go today, Chris?
Well, I think it went really well. Everyone responded accordingly, and it was really good cooperation from all different parties, EMS, Olds Fire, and RCMP. I think we did a good job today.
So what does it take to put something like this together?
Well, it definitely takes a lot of organization and communication among all the different emergency response parties. So basically, to set everything up, it takes a lot of good communication.
Hours.
Hours, yeah. Hours of work, for sure.
Excellent. So why do you do this program?
I think it gives the kids a good chance to see basically how a collision scene would play out. It's not something that a lot of people have been exposed to, and it's certainly can be a traumatic thing that people would certainly learn a lot from. So it gives them a good chance to kind of see firsthand how emergency services respond and how they work together. So.
Okay. I remember one time I was at an accident scene, and it affected me. Like, I wasn't actually involved, but it really affected me for a long, long time. So I can't imagine what these young people go. Does it help with the problems with drinking and driving and different things like that? Is it for that too?
Yeah, I certainly think given this situation, that it definitely is a bit of an eye-opener as far as impaired driving goes. What alcohol can do, and I guess the outcomes that can come of that. So. Okay,
excellent. So do you do this every year?
Yeah, we do it on an annual basis, usually in the springtime. Once the weather gets nice, there's more people on the road, and it's definitely when we see more impaired drivers ourselves. So,
So I see you had a lot of students here today. What ages were they, or were they older, teenagers, or young adolescents?
They were high school students. I believe we had a couple grades here, but I believe most of them would be young drivers at this point, young adolescents, whether they're about to graduate high school or they're kind of moving up through high school. It's a good opportunity for them to see this now as a young driver and learn from that. So,
I see them walking over to the hospital. So is that part of the program too?
Yeah, I believe they're going to go over to the hospital now and just kind of see how the medical staff over there would deal with any patients that are coming in from a scene like this.
That's perfect. So thank you for all your hard work, Chris. We really appreciate it, and we'll talk again.
Thanks for having me. Thanks.